Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining us on another episode of today's Electrical Estimating. As always, I'm your co-host, Chris Traumer, and I am joined by my other co-host, Sal Huerta.
Hello, everyone.
So, Sal, we started this because we wanted to bring attention to the fact that it's not just an estimator behind a keyboard that has influence in the estimating environment. Conversations we've seen or had, excuse me, and things we've seen online and other conversations people have, it just makes it seem like there's an estimating software, there's an estimator behind a keyboard, and that's the only people that have hands on to this. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring this to the attention, because of each channel partner actually plays their own role. As we are going through here, we've talking to distributors and manufacturers, obviously contractors and estimators. And today we're going to be talking to Paul, who works in procurement for a contracting company. I know you, with all of your experience, can you attest to this, that it's not just, one single person that sort of rules this space, but a combination of individuals throughout the channel, within those channel partners, that actually have their fingers on the pulse and are, I guess, contributing to it on a day-to-day basis?
That's an excellent point that you brought out, as far as, more people being involved in this process than what you would think of. In this case, obviously, we think of an estimator. But as you mentioned, the procurement departments inside of it are part of it. I mean, they have to be, the ones actually buying the stuff, and then making sure they're delivered on time to the job sites. And you also have other people within your office, accounting and other people who might be office managers, as an example, who might be just taking care of, one of their jobs could be having the stock in the warehouse. And so needing to know what's being replenished, what's not, what's being used. They might even need to know what the prices are for these things to make sure that when they're rebuying, working with procurement to seeing when they're going to repurchase things. Project managers, the guys are on the field, are actually, helping, running the crews and, getting the actual work done. All these people are a part of the bigger picture. They all work together to make this process work. So yes, it's not just one person behind a keyboard doing all this.
So it might start with that one person, but it obviously pulls in everybody within the company as it moves forward to make sure that when you do win a bid, that this is actually going to be successful. But as we're going to see when we talk with Paul here, it seems like they can all play a part before it even gets out of that estimating phase. As Paul would talk about, the procurement brings their own knowledge base to help consult with the estimating team so that they have an insight and an understanding of what's going on in the market that they might not be seeing.
Well, absolutely. And we talked about a little bit on podcasts we had where, the supply chain comes into effect. And so, like you said, knowing when to buy things, when, if copper's up or things like that, you need to know, you're going to buy a bigger buy beforehand. That way the, estimating can actually do their job of, putting together the job, but that, you always have people working in the field that can now use these products. So yes, it all works together.
All right. Well, let's get right into it and see what Paul has to contribute to this conversation. One interesting thing you did mention was estimating. And, obviously our show is geared all around estimating here.
Mm-hmm.
Have to ask, how do procurement managers collaborate with the estimators in this whole environment?
Yeah.
What is your guys' relationship?
So what's funny, I actually sit in the estimating office. I'm there, but it seems like I'm supporting more with the operations, right? I'm helping them out. However, so I work hand in hand with them, whether it's getting a switchgear bid or getting a lighting quote or just finalizing a contract. So they will come to me, what are you hearing in the market? What do you see? And I've been very fortunate that a lot of my suppliers and even our vendor reps feel free to reach out to me and say, hey, here's our year-end look ahead from one of our pipe suppliers, right? Which is good information. So I relay that message back and forth to what my guys see. The hardest part I have is that waiting time between estimating and the award, right? I cannot lock up anything, cannot buy anything until I actually have a solid letter of intent saying, yeah, you're going to go with us. So supporting wise, yes, I do help them on price. Now, when it comes to electrical on the miscellaneous, we rely heavy on Saul's, on Saul's website. That's heavy for us. But as soon as I can get that crossed over and lock it up, based on what the estimator has seen, how he wanted to build it, right? Because let's face it, in electrical, it's means and methods. Just because you build it in one way doesn't mean the estimator saw it the same way. I kind of have to bridge that gap too. And if there's process improvements, in a past life, I did a lot of stuff with piece workers. I didn't really care about a set screw to a connector. Now I pay for my labor. So I need my suppliers to bring me stuff. So say, if this saves me 10 minutes an outlet, yeah, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
Because at 10 minutes and 34 outlets in a unit, that's going to add up.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
On what you just said there with the labor savings, is that something that you would prioritize over costs, depending on how much labor you're saving at that point? So if it's a little bit more expensive, would you rather, go with a product that's going to save you 10% more time on the install? Or
yeah, very good question. I would push it that way, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it, labor's not going to get any cheaper. You know what I mean? So with that being said, yes, if I can find a way to save money on a job, I will push that, say, hey, we need to take a look at this. And even if I don't get it on the estimating side, I can still bring it to the ops side and say, hey, you might want to take a look at this. It might be more money, but let's look at the budget. If you have room in the budget to do it, I'd recommend doing it. If I can I always said this, if I can get the job done quicker, I can get paid quicker.
Yeah.
It's simple, right?
So that relationship, it seems like with the estimating side is, you're there. Is it more of like an advisory role with them? So when they're looking into this, you're sort of advising like, hey, this is my thoughts on this. This is what I'm hearing from my suppliers. This is what I'm hearing about new products coming in.
I'm support for them, right?
Gotcha.
And I guess and I'm also support for operations too. Yeah, I'm the middleman in between. I support them, and if there's something that they can't source and they just need a hard bit, yeah, I'll take care of it. There's the relationships that they're not getting. Yeah, if we're not getting quotes, yeah, I'll reach out. And sometimes it's a matter of just people out of the office for not getting a quote back. We have some really good suppliers, and everybody's hungry. There's a lot of work out there to be done.
Yeah.
And when that comes time, who are going to be our tier one suppliers? And I will try to push my estimator, say, take a look at this guy. It's a tier one supplier, meaning we don't have invoice issues. They get their stuff there on time. We have decent terms with them. We have a rebate package with them where I know this guy down the street is going to give you a good price for, they'll give you a good price for this item right now.
Yeah.
However, where are they going to be in 6 months? Where I know I have my relationships kind of built. So yeah, I'm more of a support and help them with the portfolio more or less. I mean, they are the subject matter experts.
So let me ask, working with the estimators, you're sort of seeing what they're creating on projects and bids that are going to be coming up in the future. And like you said, you guys can't really do too much until you have it, signed, sealed, and delivered in your hands. But
Right.
do you ever look back and do what they have bids out for to stores say, okay, hey, I need to do some ordering for this. We have all of this coming up. Do you take into account the ones that are maybes, or is it only ones that are sort of, we got this in the bag already before?
I feel, yeah, in my eyes, and maybe that's other side of other procurement managers, it's not my money, right? It's my ownership's money. And I'm very conservative with someone else's money. If I look at a couple projects and say, okay, there's these 3 out there and we might get this one. If it's small enough, okay, fine, let's go ahead and leverage it. There's always going to be those oops moments where you could probably leverage that contract, even if you tied up money in it too long. A couple thoughts come to my mind, right? For copper, I'm very, very conservative because last thing you want, you mean that you could be sitting on a great contract right now. And obviously we have stuff going on overseas and that could just, drive it up or drive it down. You don't know. So in the copper aspect, I would be very conservative, maybe lock up 80% of it rather than 20%. For pipe, I would probably lock up as much as I could. Boxes and steel, steel market with the boxes and stuff like that, I'm not too worried about. I did an analysis one time. And in electrical, right, take out gear and take out the lighting to it and take out the generators. When you look at the material, 60% of your risk is going to be in your cable, whether it's aluminum or copper, right? The other thing, and you follow the pathways, right? Your conduit is probably going to be 20%, 20 to 15 to 20%. So if you lock up your risk at 75%, right, or 80% of it, your trend devices they can move, but not as much as your copper or where your risk is at, right?
Yeah.
Your fasteners and cables, your strut, even though it's a lot of steel in there, it's still very small part of what your risk is in that spend. So I would, back to your original question, I'd be more volatility of that commodity goes.
Mhm.
I'd be very conservative. But if it's something where I need, hey, let's look at buying some more devices. Okay, fine. It's not,
Okay.
risk is low. Does that help you at all?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like it goes, you sort of categorize the different materials that you're dealing with through these.
Correct.
So if we're looking at one that, you haven't really got it signed, sealed, and delivered, but you're like, hey, I'm looking at what's on here.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest risk. It's not as volatile as what
Yeah.
other items are. So you might take it into account when you're going to make, a purchase or something coming up
Right.
in the near future, because even if you don't get the job, it's not like it's going to
Yeah.
hurt you one way or another.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
pretty much accurate.
It's pretty much accurate, and all varies by company size, right?
Yeah.
I know in a past life I worked for a bigger company, and they would say buy it on a handshake, and I can get a letter from the CEO said, "What are you waiting for?" And in here it's like, hey, did we get the job yet? I'm not sure. It's 50-50.
Yeah.
Not until we have something signed and sealed delivered are you going to take that risk. So
Yeah. So that sort of helps with your relationship with the estimating size. That help you better understand if you're going to possibly win the bid, or do they give you any insight into, hey, like, you've done your part, you supported them, they sent it out and say, hey, I feel 90% confident that we got this, or 70% confident. Did they pass that along to you so you have a better understanding?
Yeah, I'm not trying to tiptoe around the question, but
No.
in my eyes, I'd like something concrete and say, yeah,
Yeah.
let's do this now. And estimators, they do their best. These guys get their drawings, they look at it for 2.5 weeks,
Yeah.
and to say that what they see there is going to be the same footprint, the same blueprint in 18 months from now, no,
Probably.
that doesn't happen. Not in this work.
Gotcha. Does that take a lot of adjustment? Let me ask this. Does it take adjustment on your end? So, like you said, if they're looking at it now, they're making the decisions on what they're going to do from what they're seeing now.
Yeah.
Now, 18 months from now, you come back and they're saying, yay, we got it. And then it comes into your lap and you're saying, well, darn, this is, a lot different than what we saw when we originally talked about this and went through and we actually put the numbers out there.
Yeah. No, you hit the nail on top of the head. It does.